The Tough on Crime and War on Drugs campaigns of the 1980s and 90s more than tripled the prison population in the United States to more than 2.2 million people being incarcerated by 2016. With tight budgets between education, health care, and other campaign promises, politicians were forced to compete with one another on how tough they would be on crime. Although there has been a decline in the total number of people incarcerated since 2016, the female prison population is nearly 8 times higher than it was in 1980. In fact, from 1980 to 2014, the number of incarcerated women increased by more than 700%.
When I found out my mother was incarcerated, I was young, so I felt like a sense of, I was missing her, you know? Like, I didn't have that mother figure, you know, holding you when you're young and stuff. While she was in prison, we sent like letters back and forth. It made me feel happy. It made me feel like I was like updated from her progress. Teachers too would be like, oh, we're gonna call your mother, or it would be like, is your mother going to this meeting and stuff like that. So it was just a little like kind of annoying, because like I didn't want to just tell them up front like, oh, my mother's in jail, my mother's incarcerated. I think mass incarceration is devastating, more ways than one, financially, emotionally.
My mom in prison, at first it was just kind of like a weird place, but after a while it started to be like normal, because like all my life I knew her, like she was in prison, so playing basketball, she's always support me, pass me the ball while I shoot and stuff. That's my favorite memory, most of all. The thing about having my mom in prison is that just seeing other kids walking with their mom and dad, and just like I'm just feel left out. My mom has inspired me because I know she's been through things when she was a child, and I just want to be, you know, she taught me to be the best person I can, even though we have talks about stuff like that.
While the increase of incarcerated women impacts the larger picture of mass incarceration, it demands more attention and resources. Domestic violence and poverty often factor into the incarceration of women. This fact requires urgent attention that responds directly to the needs of women and their families throughout their incarcerations in prisons and jails, as well as during the re-entry process.
I first went to prison when I was 16 years old. I've spent a total of 23 1/3 to 60 years while incarcerated.
And my mom, she used to tell me that, oh, he's in the place where we have to go see him, but he can't come home yet. He was there and he's going to be there for a long time, and not fully understanding why it had to be so long or why it had to be him specifically.
The last time I seen my mother, she was actually at my sentencing, and she was crying. And about maybe 2 weeks after that, I called home to speak to my mother because I hadn't spoke to her in some weeks. And my aunt told me that your mother passed away. She said, you haven't heard? I said, no. She said, your mother passed away.
It's like, out of everyone, he's the only person that actually made one wrong to do nothing but right afterwards.
This has been my niece. Every time she came to visit, out of all of my nieces and nephews, like she was always the one that hugged me the tightest.
The mass incarceration of women is destructive and counterproductive to the highest form of institution, the family.